My grandfather died before I was born, but I knew him through the stories. Stories about a farmer who couldn't write his own name but could make his children listen. Stories about a house that was always too full, and a father who taught patience in the chaos. Stories my father told me by the fire, the same way his father told him.
Gather close, my children, and let me tell you about our family, about the blood that runs in your veins, and the soil that has fed us for generations. And stop fidgeting, Giuseppe. Yes, I see you trying to sneak out to play. This story is about you too, whether you like it or not. I came into this world on a cold December morning in 1819, the 10th day of the month to be exact. Now, your grandfather Gregorio, may God rest his soul, always loved to tell me how I nearly didn't get registered at all. You see, I decided to arrive at 5 o'clock in the morning, and your grandfather had to wait the entire day, fidgeting and pacing like a caged rooster, until the mayor opened his office at 5 in the afternoon. 12 hours. He said I kept perfect time though, came into the world at 17 hours and got declared at 17 hours. Even as a baby, he'd laugh, you understood Italian bureaucracy. Your grandfather was 33 years old then, his hands already hardened from years of working our land. He came rushing down from the fields to the municipal house that very afternoon, and here's what he never let me forget. He was so nervous standing before Mayor Bucco that he kept calling me Antonio Agostino instead of Agostino Antonio. The mayor had to correct him 3 times, and my poor father turning redder than a tomato each time. You must understand, in those days in San Vito, every birth, every death, every marriage had to be recorded properly. The kingdom required it, and so did the church. My father couldn't write his own name. Neither could the witnesses who came with him, Giuseppe De Luca and Giovanni D'Angelo, both farmers like him, both neighbors who would help bring in the harvest when the sun beat down mercilessly on our Abruzzo hills. Giovanni D'Angelo, oh, that man. He once tried to convince everyone in the village that he could predict rain by the way his left knee ached. Every single day for a month, he'd hobble around saying, "Rain's coming, mark my words." Finally, it rained, and he acted like he was Moses parting the Red Sea. We never heard the end of it.
Vincenzo is outside, and he said he found a frog with only 3 legs.
Sit down.
Your stories are longer than Mass.
They're better than Mass. Did the mayor get mad?
Did Nono really turn red?
Redder than your mother's tomatoes.
So you were born confused, and you stayed confused.
I raised you, didn't I?
Did the mayor get mad?
No. But he sighed like he was already tired of me, and I hadn't even learned to cry yet. My childhood in Borgo San Vito was simple, but it was full. We had a small piece of land, a few sheep, chickens scratching the dirt, and an old stone oven shared with 3 other families. Your grandmother, Maddalena d'Alessandro, rose before dawn every morning to bake bread. The smell drifted through the narrow streets and into every home. Even now, if I close my eyes, I can still smell it. And oh, the arguments over that oven. Once your grandmother and Signora Pagliarone argued so long that the bread burned while they stood there with their hands on their hips, voices echoing off the stone walls, the whole neighborhood watching like it was a festival. But your grandmother had a laugh that could heal the worst day. When I was 7 or 8, I tried to help her make pasta. I spilled flour everywhere, in my hair, up my nose, even behind my ears. I looked like a ghost wandering the kitchen. She laughed so hard she had to sit down, tears rolling down her cheeks, then kissed my forehead and said, "My little baker," even though I had ruined half her flour. But sorrow came when I was 12. It was end of October 1832. The autumn rains had soaked the fields, and a fever spread through San Vito like a dark cloud. Your grandmother fell ill, and even burning with fever she tried to rise, whispering, "The bread, Agostino. Who will make the bread?" I held her hand. It was so hot it frightened me. I promised I would learn. I promised I would take care of Papa. She died the next morning. She was only 40. Giuseppe Flaminio and old Falco Pagliarone came to confirm her death for the civil records. Falco saw me crying and placed his rough hand on my shoulder. "Cry, boy," he said. "Real men cry when they lose someone they love." Your grandfather Gregorio never remarried. He raised me alone, teaching me to coax life from the rocky Abruzzo soil. and he tried, God bless him, to make bread. The first loaf came out so hard we used it to hammer a loose fence post. We laughed until we cried, then cried because we missed her. On cold winter nights, we sat by the fire while he told me stories about your grandmother, how she could sing while she worked, how she could spot a lying merchant from across the market square, and how she once chased a fox from our chickens with nothing but a broom in her fury.
Papa, Nana sounds very nice.
She was.
Did Nana really kiss you when you were all white with flour?
She said I looked like a ghost.
I get flour in my hair too.
You look more like a chicken that fell in a sack of snow.
Can I help you make bread like Nona did?
One day?
Do you miss her?
Yes, every day.
Do you think she can smell our bread from heaven?
If heaven has a window, she probably already knows when it's burning.
She is smiling.
She always is. Let me continue the story.
We want to hear it too, Papa.
The years passed, and I grew strong under the Italian sun. I learned to swing a scythe, to prune the grapevines, to know when the wheat was ready for harvest. And yes, I learned to make decent bread, though never quite as good as your grandmother Maddalena's. By the time I was 30, yes, 30 years old before I married, which might seem old to you but was common enough in those hard times, I had my own small parcel of land in Contrada, Castelana. I had a reputation as a hard worker, an honest man, and, according to Signora Borsa, who loved to meddle, dangerously close to becoming a confirmed bachelor. It was in the spring of 1850 that I first noticed Rosa D'Angelo, though we had known each other since we were children. She lived in Contrada Lecese with her parents, Camillo and Vita. The first time I really saw her, not as little Rosa from down the road, but as the woman who would become your mother, was market day. She was arguing with a cloth merchant about thread. The merchant, a sly fellow from Lanciano, kept insisting his price was fair. Your mother, she was only 22, looked him straight in the eye and said, "Fair? My dear sir, the only thing fair about your prices is that you fairly rob everyone equally." The whole market erupted in laughter. The merchant turned purple, sputtered something, and she walked away with the thread at half the price. I stood there like a fool, holding a cabbage, completely enchanted. Rosa was unlike anyone else. She had eyes that reminded me of chestnuts, and hands that never stopped moving, always spinning, always weaving, always working. But it was her spirit that captured me. She was born during Holy Week in 1828 in a country house during a thunderstorm. Her mother always said the thunder was God announcing something special. They gave her those beautiful names, Domenica for Sunday, Pasqua for Easter, Rosa for the roses that would bloom that spring. But we called her Rosa because, as her father said, she's as beautiful as a rose and just as likely to prick you if you're not careful. I'll tell you a secret, children. I was terrified to court her. This confident woman who could argue down merchants and run a household. What would she want with a quiet farmer like me? I tried to impress her. I accidentally walked past her house 17 times in 1 week. Her father finally came out and said, "Agostino, either you're lost or you're courting, and if you're courting, come inside and do it properly instead of wearing a path in the road."
You walked past her house 17 times?
That's not courting. That's getting lost.
So Nano yelled at me. Very loudly.
You were scared of Mama?
Terrified.
But she was smaller than you.
She still sounds scary.
She was impressive.
So she won?
She absolutely won.
And you still married her.
And I thanked God every day that she said yes.
So she picked you.
She chose me. Now let me finish the story. I remember the day we decided to marry. We walked together under the oak trees that lined the old Roman road, and I was rehearsing this beautiful speech in my head about honor and commitment and building a life together. When I opened my mouth, what came out was, "Rosa, would you... That is, I have land now, and I can make bread, mostly edible bread." She laughed, that same laugh I would hear for all the years to come, and said, "Agostino De Luca, are you asking me to marry you or to judge your baking?" "Both," I said weakly. She took my hand, and my heart nearly stopped. "Yes," she said simply, "yes to both." I asked her father's permission that evening. Camillo D'Angelo looked at me with those shrewd farmer's eyes. made me squirm for a good 5 minutes. I swear he enjoyed it, and finally said, "Agostino, you're a good man from good people. You make my daughter laugh, which is more important than gold. You have my blessing." Then he clapped me on the back so hard I nearly fell over. But getting married in those days wasn't simple, my children. No, it required careful steps, official procedures. The kingdom wanted everything recorded, documented, sealed, and signed. On the 27th of September, a Sunday, the notification of our intention to marry was posted on the door of the municipal house. Your grandmother was convinced someone would object. What if someone remembers that time I borrowed apples from the priest's tree when I was 7? She worried. What if they think you can do better? I told her the only thing I could do better was worry, and she was already the champion of that. For weeks that notice hung there, and every Sunday after Mass, we'd walk past it holding our breath. Of course, no one objected. We were respectable people, known to everyone in San Vito. But your grandmother made me check every single Sunday. Every one. Then came the 12th of December, 1850. I will never forget that night. At midnight, yes, the stroke of midnight, we gathered at the municipal house. I wore my best clothes, which your grandmother had insisted on mending 3 times. "You're not going to our wedding looking like a scarecrow," she'd said. I was so nervous I'd been awake since dawn, which meant I'd been awake for nearly 24 hours. Your grandmother looked beautiful. She wore a dress her mother had helped her make, deep blue like the evening sky, and she'd woven wildflowers into her hair. But I could see her hands trembling. So I took one in mine and whispered, "At least if I faint, I'll fall on you, and you can't escape." She bit her lip to keep from laughing during the solemn ceremony. Domenico de Bernardines, acting as mayor, received us with all the gravity the occasion demanded. Your grandmother's parents were there, her mother crying from the moment we arrived. Happy tears, she kept insisting, though it sounded more like sobbing. 4 witnesses stood with us. Don Giuseppe Borsa, a property owner and man of some importance, who kept nodding solemnly. Pietro Ciampoli, the tailor, who couldn't help examining everyone's stitching. Taddeo Tosto, the carpenter, my good friend who winked at me when I looked too nervous. And Giacomo Antonio Bellisario, who had witnessed my father's death 2 years before. A sobering connection that made me think of Papa and wish he could have been there. The mayor read everything. My birth record from 30 years before, Rosa's birth record, the death certificates of my father, my mother, even my grandfather. So many deaths to acknowledge before we could celebrate life together. He read us the laws about marriage, about the duties of husband and wife. And I tried to pay attention. I truly did. But all I could think was how Rosa's hand felt in mine and how I was the luckiest man in all of Abruzzo. Only 3 of the 4 witnesses could sign their names. Your grandmother's parents, good people though they were, could only make their marks. Her father looked embarrassed until Don Borsa said loudly, "A man's honor isn't in his signature, but in his word." And then Camillo stood a little straighter. The very same night, after the civil ceremony, we walked through the cold December darkness to the church of Santa Maria. The stars were so bright, they looked like someone had scattered diamonds across the sky. Your grandmother was shivering, so I gave her my coat. She protested, said I'd freeze, but I told her I was burning up with joy and wouldn't feel the cold if it snowed. There, under the ancient arches built by our ancestors centuries before, with Archpriest Alay presiding, and our witnesses Raphael Schiappa and Vincenzo Olivieri standing beside us, we were married in the eyes of God. The church smelled of incense and candle wax and old stone. When I said my vows, my voice cracked, and your grandmother squeezed my hand. When we walked out as husband and wife, her mother was still crying. Her father shook my hand and said, "You take care of my Rosa, or I'll make you regret it." Then he hugged me and whispered, "Welcome to the family, son."
Wait, you proposed with bread?
That's what you say when you sell goats.
It was mostly edible.
Mostly means it hurt people.
The bread bite people?
Hard bread, angry bread.
And Mama still married you. She married you for your face.
Are you sure? Ha! I am now married! Mama stole apples.
A fruit criminal.
I object. She took the apples.
She take apples?
You really loved Mama.
Hey, I am now married. This is the last part of the story. Be good and listen. Now, I am an older man, and you children are the continuation of our line. Your great-grandfather Vitantonio, your grandfather Gregorio, your grandmother Maddalena, who died too young, your grandfather, me, and your mother Rosa, who sits beside me even now, still arguing with merchants and still making me laugh every single day. We are all links in a chain that stretches back into the mists of time and forward into whatever future God has planned. We were farmers. Yes, we couldn't write our names, most of us. We lived and died in the same few miles of Abruzzo earth. But we were honorable people. We kept our promises. We worked hard. We feared God and loved our families. And we laughed. Oh, how we laughed. Even in the hardest times, we found reasons to laugh. When I die, and that day will come, as it came for all those before me, the mayor will send witnesses to confirm it, just as they did for my mother and father. They will write it in their books with their careful script. Your grandmother will probably argue with them about the details, knowing her. He was 62, not 61. Can't you count properly? But what matters more than those written records are the memories you carry, the stories you will tell your own children, and the knowledge that you come from good, strong people who knew the value of a promise kept and a day's work done well. People who could laugh at burnt bread and bureaucratic ceremonies at midnight. People who loved fiercely and mourned deeply and lived fully. This is your inheritance, children. Not gold, not grand estates, but something more valuable. A name that means something. A family that endures. Stories that make you laugh and cry, and roots that run deep into this ancient soil. And yes, Giuseppe, now you can go play. But remember this story. One day, you'll tell it to your own children, and you'll understand why an old man made you sit still and listen. Never forget where you come from, and never forget that we loved you before you were even born.